My son and his wife went on a luxury cruise, leaving me behind to take care of my 7-year-old grandson, a child who had been mute since birth. But the moment they left, my grandson suddenly looked at me with deadly seriousness and spoke in a clear, firm voice. "Grandma, don't drink the tea Mom made for you. She's planned something." I froze. The blood in my veins turned to ice. Before the story begins, take a moment to like and subscribe to Stories with Meaning. Stay until the end and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The cruise ship floated elegantly before us. Its lights glittered as if showing off. People crowded the dock, laughing, taking photos, dragging suitcases. I stood a little behind Daniel and Paula, bracing myself against the damp sea wind. My knees had started aching from standing too long, but I said nothing. This was Paula's dream vacation. "Just once, Mom," she said. "Life has to be enjoyed." In the car earlier, before we reached the port, Paula leaned back from the front seat and placed a neatly wrapped paper bag on my lap. "Mom, this is herbal tea from the cruise nutritionist. It's good for your bones and your heart. Drink it every night while we're gone." Inside the same bag was a box of supplements. "These are vitamins. Take them after meals." Daniel, who was driving, glanced briefly in the rearview mirror, then looked back at the road. His jaw tightened, as if holding something in. I nodded. The tea bottle felt cold in my palm. The label was pristine. Foreign words I didn't recognize. "Read it carefully later, okay?" Paula added. Her voice was gentle, but her eyes were too sharp, too bright. Maybe I was just being sensitive. Age makes people suspicious, I told myself. At the port, Paula busied herself directing porters. Daniel stood beside me, secretly smoking, then quickly crushed the cigarette when a crew member passed. "Don't tire yourself out, Mom," he said flatly. "Take care of Leo and take care of yourself." I looked down at my grandson. Leo clutched a small blue toy car standing close to Daniel's leg. He stared at the ship blankly. Since birth, Leo had never spoken, only cried. Doctors said he was mute. Whenever therapists talked, Paula always answered for him. "Yes, doctor, we'll work on it." At home, though, Leo was often left alone with a tablet. "Leo, sweetheart," I said gently, "hug Grandma. Grandma will take care of you." He looked at me slowly, expressionless, clutching the toy tighter. Paula stepped in, briefly patting his head. "Hug Grandma, Leo," she urged. Only then did he step forward and press his body stiffly against me. A boarding announcement echoed across the dock. Paula immediately hooked her arm into Daniel. "Come on, honey, we'll be late." She spoke loudly as if making sure everyone heard what a devoted daughter-in-law she was. She kissed my cheek. Her expensive perfume burned my nose. "Don't forget to drink the tea, Mom," she whispered, "so you'll live a long life." She laughed softly. I forced a smile. "Be careful. Daniel, take care of your wife." Daniel shook my hand. His eyes were empty. "Yes, Mom." I watched them disappear through security gates. After they were gone, I stood there for several minutes staring at strangers' backs. Something heavy settled in my chest. The taxi ride home felt endless. The tea bottle sat on my lap like a stone. Paula had placed it there herself, as if it were the most important thing I needed to bring home. At home in San Diego, the sun was already low. My house wasn't big, but every corner held memories. My late husband's photo still hung in the living room. I placed the bag on the chair, set the tea bottle and supplements on the table, and called softly, "Leo." He entered quietly, sat on the floor in the living room, and rolled his blue toy car back and forth. No sound, only plastic wheels against tile. In the kitchen, I poured myself a glass of water. My throat was dry. When I returned, my eyes fell on the tea again. Golden liquid, perfectly normal. "Herbal," Paula said. I picked it up, hesitating. The house was silent. No TV, no Paola commanding the kitchen, no Daniel on work calls. Just me, my grandson, and a bottle of tea. I walked toward the kitchen to put it in the fridge, then suddenly stopped. A chill crawled up my spine. Leo had stopped playing. Slowly, deliberately, he turned his head toward me. Not like a careless 7-year-old. His eyes were different. "Leo?" I whispered. He stood up. The toy car slipped from his hand and rolled under the table. For the first time in my life, my grandson stood straight and faced me. His lips moved. A voice came out, hoarse, stiff, but clear. "Grandma." The bottle nearly fell from my hand. "Grandma," he repeated, "don't drink the tea Mom made for you." My breath caught. Mom and Dad, he swallowed hard. "They've planned something." The blood drained from my body. Then suddenly, Leo flinched. Fear flooded his face. He bent down quickly, grabbed his toy, and sat back on the floor, silent again, as if nothing had happened. I approached him slowly. "Leo, what did you just say?" No response. I hid the tea bottle deep in the cupboard. The supplements went on the highest shelf. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed his words over and over. I eventually poured a little tea into a glass. Just as I raised it to my lips, a cat meowed at the kitchen window. An impulse seized me. I placed the glass on the floor. The cat licked it. Minutes passed. Then, the cat collapsed. Dead. No wounds, no blood, just gone. My hands shook violently. I washed the glass, poured the remaining tea down the drain, and hid the bottle again. Not to drink, but as evidence, because my mute grandson had just saved my life. And for the first time, I was truly afraid of my own son. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the cat's face, its tongue licking the glass, its body suddenly stiffening. Before dawn, before Leo woke up, I decided to take the tea bottle to a small neighborhood clinic near the Market District in San Diego. I wrapped it carefully in a cloth tote bag. "Mrs. Margaret, you're up early," the nurse at the front desk said when I arrived. "Are you not feeling well?" "No," I replied. "I just want to ask about something." I slowly took out the bottle. "This is some kind of herbal tea. A friend gave it to me. I just want to know, is it safe for an elderly person to drink?" The nurse frowned and called the doctor. Dr. Michael Bennett had known Daniel and me for years. He often treated us for minor illnesses. "Well, Mrs. Margaret, you look healthy," he greeted me warmly. "Healthy or just stubborn?" I tried to joke, but my voice came out hoarse. "I'm just curious about this drink." He took the bottle, read the label, then smelled it. "This isn't a product I recognize," he said slowly. "Who gave you this?" "A friend," I answered quickly. "She said it's good for bones and the heart." Dr. Bennett shook his head. "If the ingredients and registration aren't clear, I can't say it's safe, especially for someone your age. I strongly recommend you don't drink it." "Why?" "Because there have been many cases where unregulated herbal drinks are mixed with dangerous substances." "Dangerous? How dangerous, doctor?" "Anything from stomach damage and kidney failure to illegal drugs, even rat poison. People wouldn't know." The words rat poison hit me like a slap. My fingers clenched the edge of my skirt. "Doctor," I whispered, "last night a neighbor's cat licked a little of this drink, and then it suddenly had seizures and died. Could this be the cause?" Dr. Bennett went silent. He looked at me carefully. "If the timeline is like that, then yes, it's very possible there's something toxic inside. To be certain, it would need laboratory testing. Unfortunately, we don't have those facilities here." I nodded slowly. "So I should throw it away?" "I would strongly advise not drinking it, and if you're suspicious, make sure no one else drinks it either." His eyes searched my face as if he wanted to ask more. "This was given by a friend?" he repeated. "Yes," I said softly, looking away. I wasn't ready to say Paula's name. When I returned home, I found Leo sitting on the living room floor, still playing with his blue toy car. He glanced at me briefly, then pretended to keep playing. I sat down in front of him. "Leo," I said gently, "yesterday, what did you tell Grandma? I want to hear it again." Silence. His hand moved the toy car, slower and slower. I took out paper and colored pencils from the drawer. "If it's hard to talk, you can draw. I saw the doctor today. He said the tea is dangerous. Did you see Mommy do something to it?" Leo didn't answer. His eyes moved to the paper. Slowly, he put down the toy and picked up a pencil. His small hand trembled. He drew a rectangular shape, a kitchen counter, I guessed. Then a bottle, then a woman with long hair, clearly Paula. Above the bottle, he drew a small spoon, pouring tiny dots inside. Then he drew a man standing farther away, hands gripping his head in anger. Underneath, he carefully wrote, "Mom, Dad." My breath caught. "What did Mommy pour into it?" I asked softly. He drew more dots falling from the spoon into the bottle. Then he drew a line leading to a small house with a triangular roof. It looked like my house. Above it, he wrote slowly, "Grandma." Tears fell without me realizing. "What did they say, Leo?" He dropped the pencil. His lips trembled, but no sound came out. Then he covered his ears with both hands. His body shook. I pulled him into my arms. "It's okay," I whispered. "Grandma understands. You've helped enough. Thank you, sweetheart." That afternoon, while Leo was napping, I opened the small cabinet in my bedroom. In the bottom drawer were old documents, the house deed, pension papers, old insurance policies. As I shifted the folders, I found a white envelope I had never seen before. My name was printed clearly on the front, along with the logo of an unfamiliar insurance company. Inside was a life insurance policy, taken out just a few months earlier. My vision blurred as I read, but one line stood out clearly. Primary beneficiary, Paula Anderson. My hands began to shake. Why not Daniel? Why not Leo? Why my daughter-in-law? The premiums were being paid automatically from a joint account, the one Daniel and I had opened years ago to make monthly transfers easier. I sank on the edge of the bed. The paper nearly slipped from my fingers. Fragments from the past few years suddenly connected. Daniel constantly complaining about business cash flow, Paula growing more obsessed with luxury and status, this house recently discussed as an asset that shouldn't go to waste, the cat dying after licking the tea, the doctor's warning, Leo's drawings, now this insurance policy? 3 things that could no longer be called a coincidence. I stared at the family photo on the wall, me in the middle, Daniel on one side, Paula on the other, Leo in front. We were all smiling. I used to believe that photo proved I wasn't alone in the world. Now the smiles felt like masks. If I stay silent, I'll die slowly. And Leo, who knows what will happen to him? Fear and pain began to change shape inside my chest, condensing into something heavier. Anger. Dense, steady anger that stopped my hands from shaking. The next morning, I woke up feeling different. Still afraid? Yes, but something inside me had hardened, like the days I used to discipline unruly students, shaking but firm. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the insurance policy on the floor. I slipped it back into the envelope and hid it inside my old market pouch. "All right," I murmured to myself. "If they can plan something behind me, so can I. First rule, I must not let Daniel or Paula know that I know. If they realized I was aware, they could change tactics, destroy evidence, or even speed things up. So I made myself a promise. In front of them, I would remain Margaret, the naive, trusting, slightly forgetful old woman. Behind their backs, I would keep my eyes wide open. Leo came out of his room, rubbing his eyes, hair messy. "Good morning, sweetheart," I said cheerfully. "Toast or fried rice?" He looked at me briefly, then pointed to the toast. No sound. I didn't push him. Slowly was fine. What mattered was that he was safe. As Leo ate, I sat across from him thinking. I knew nothing about law. My life had been books, teaching elementary school and running a household. I needed someone who understood, someone I could trust. A name surfaced in my mind. Maya Collins. She was the attorney who handled my late husband's inheritance 5 years ago. Early 30s, warm but firm. She explained everything clearly back then, never making me feel ignorant. I still had her card. After walking Leo to his inclusive school near our house, I returned home and opened the drawer. The business card was still there, slightly yellowed at the edges. My finger hovered over the phone. If I called her, I would be admitting that my own son might want me dead. The part of me that still wanted to believe in Daniel screamed in protest, but the image of the dead cat and Leo's drawings slammed that door shut. I dialed. "Good afternoon, Maya Collins speaking. Mara, this is Margaret. You helped me with my husband's estate 5 years ago." "Oh, Mrs. Margaret, how are you?" I took a breath. "I need help. Can we meet? But I need this conversation to remain private. My son must not know." There was a brief pause. "Of course," she said carefully. "You can come to my office this afternoon, or I can come to you." "I'll come to your office. I don't want anyone at home to get suspicious." We set the appointment. After hanging up, I felt both relieved and terrified, like stepping into a dark room with only a small flashlight. That afternoon, I cleaned the house as usual, sweeping, mopping, hanging laundry, but my eyes searched every corner. In the kitchen, the living room cabinets, the drawers. Near the window, Daniel's laptop sat on a small desk. He usually guarded it closely, but lately, distracted by cruise preparations, he'd left it behind. I hesitated. Then I sat down. The laptop wasn't password protected. I only intended to look for documents related to the house, but my eyes were immediately drawn to bold email subjects. Payment overdue, final notice, Maya welcomed me into her office. Her hair was neatly tied back, a crisp white blouse buttoned to the collar. Her expression was serious but warm. "Please, have a seat, Mrs. Margaret," she said. "You sounded very distressed on the phone. What's going on?" I didn't answer immediately. I took a deep breath, then slowly removed the items from my bag. The tea bottle, the insurance policy envelope, and a photocopy of the house deed. "Maya," I said hoarsely, "I suspect my son and my daughter-in-law are trying to kill me." She looked startled, but not overly shocked. "Please tell me everything," she said calmly, slowly. In that office, with the air conditioning set too cold, I told her everything. About Leo suddenly speaking, the cat that died, Dr. Michael Bennett's explanation, Leo's drawings, the messages I found on Daniel's laptop, the life insurance policy. Maya listened without interrupting, only jotting down notes occasionally. "The motive is clear," she said finally. "Money, insurance, the house, possibly other assets. We have early indicators, but to take this to the police, we need stronger evidence, recordings, written confirmation, something undeniable. And you must be very careful. They've already gone this far. Desperation makes people reckless." "So what should I do?" I asked. "You have 2 options," Maya replied. First, you leave, go far away from them. But that means abandoning your house, and Leo would likely be taken back by them. Second, she continued, you pretend you know nothing, while we prepare legal steps and a trap. A trap, I repeated. Maya nodded. People like this only reveal themselves when they feel safe. If they believe you're still naive, they'll speak more freely, act more carelessly. We can record conversations, we can cut their access to your assets legally, and slowly we protect Leo. I looked down at my hands, wrinkled, spotted with age. But that day, they felt capable again. I won't run, I said quietly but firmly. This house was built with my sweat and my late husband's sweat. I refuse to die like a rat in a corner, and I won't let Leo fall into their hands. Maya gave a small smile, not pity, but respect. All right, she said, then we fight. But you must promise me one thing. What? I asked. You continue pretending you know nothing. Remain the Margaret they think is easy to fool. No anger, no direct confrontation. Right now, your fake ignorance is your strongest weapon. I nodded. I promise. In my heart, I spoke to myself and to the image of my late husband watching over me. If they're willing to sell my life for money, I'll make sure they pay with everything. 2 days after meeting Maya, my phone rang loudly on the living room table. Daniel. My heart immediately sped up. Hello, Dan, I greeted, forcing my voice to sound normal. Hey, Mom, replied Daniel. Music thumped faintly in the background, probably from the cruise ship. How are you? Feeling okay? Paula's herbal tea, are you drinking it? The question stabbed straight through me. I remembered Maya's warning and steadied my breath. I'm fine, thank God, I replied. Yes, the tea's here. I keep it in the fridge, drink a little at a time. It was the first time in my life I had lied to my own child. Paula's soft laughter echoed in the background. Hi, Mom, she said brightly. How does it feel? Do you feel lighter, more energetic? Somewhat, I replied quietly. I'm old, after all. Paula giggled. Well, you have to drink whatever's good for you. That tea was expensive. I consulted a nutritionist on the ship. Don't push yourself too hard, okay? You know how old people are. If something sudden happens, it's troublesome for everyone. Her playful tone didn't match the weight of her words. I swallowed. Yes, yes, I murmured, forcing a small laugh. Leo sat beside me on the couch. When Paula's face appeared on the video call, Leo immediately lowered his gaze and hugged his blue toy car tightly. Leo, sweetheart, Paula chirped from the screen. Look at Mommy and Daddy. Wave. Leo lifted his hand slightly, then lowered it again. He's okay, right? Daniel asked. Yes, I said. He eats, sleeps, plays. Sometimes he comes with me to the corner store. If he gets fussy, just give him the calming medicine Paula put in the big bag, the blue box. I froze. Calming medicine? Dan, don't say it like that, Paula quickly cut in. It's just children's vitamins, Mom. Helps him sleep. No nightmares. Only once in a while if he can't sleep. I hummed quietly. My stomach churned. After some small talk, the call ended. I set the phone down slowly. Leo still clutched his toy. Leo, I said gently, pulling him close. Don't drink or eat anything Mommy puts in your bag, okay? If you're unsure, give it to Grandma first. He looked at me, then nodded faintly. Fear lingered in his small eyes. The days passed. I played my role, cooking, picking Leo up from school, greeting neighbors. But every heavy motorcycle stopping outside made my heart race. Every phone call sent a jolt through my chest. One afternoon, the landline rang. "Good afternoon. Is this Mrs. Margaret, owner of the property on Rosewood Lane?" "Yes," I answered. "This is West Coast Trust Bank, ma'am. We're calling to confirm an application to use your house deed as collateral for a loan under Mr. Daniel Anderson's name." My palms immediately broke into sweat. "I'm sorry," I said firmly. "I never approved that. The deed is in my possession, and I never authorized anyone to use it as collateral." "I see," the woman replied. "Our records show an old power of attorney, but the system rejected it due to recent ownership changes. We'll suspend the process for now." Ownership changes. The words reminded me of the documents Maya had helped me update. "Thank you for contacting me directly. Please do not process any loan using my property without my signature." "Yes, ma'am." When the call ended, I slumped into the chair. Daniel had already tried to mortgage the house. At least, now, it was blocked. That evening, as heavy rain poured outside, I sat on the living room floor with Leo. We were drawing. He seemed calmer when holding colored pencils. "What scares you most at Mommy's house?" I asked casually, as if chatting about nothing important. Leo took a long time to answer. He drew two adults standing face to face, mouths open as if shouting. Between them, he drew a small child curled up. Above the woman's head, he drew a raised hand. Then, very softly, he spoke. "Mom hits Dad." His tongue was stiff, but the words were clear. I held my breath. "Why does Mom hit Dad?" I asked gently. "Dad is afraid," he continued brokenly. "Mom says Dad is a coward if he won't go all the way." I forced myself not to bombard him with questions. Leo drew the small house again, with the word Grandma above it. His eyes filled with tears. "If Grandma isn't here," he whispered. I stroked his hair. "That's enough, sweetheart. Thank you." That night, my phone rang again. Paula. "Mom, I just heard from the bank," she said lightly. "They said there's an issue with the house deed." "How could it suddenly change? What did you do?" My chest pounded, but I remembered Maya's advice. I played dumb. "What issue, Paula?" "Well, you know we handled a general power of attorney before, for taxes, utilities, things like that. But now they say it can't be used as loan collateral. Daniel and I really need funds for the business." I frowned dramatically, though she couldn't see me. "Maybe the notary made a mistake. I don't understand these things. As long as the house is safe, that's what matters to me. I'm afraid of using it as collateral. What if you can't repay? Where would I live?" Paula goes silent, then laughed softly. "Oh my God, Mom, don't you trust your own son?" "Oh." My old hands trembled as I touched it. A bad feeling crept up my spine. I clearly remembered that I hadn't touched the gas cylinder at all that afternoon. I stared at the hose connection. The bolt looked loose, as if someone had just tampered with it. What? My breath caught. If I had turned on the stove without realizing it, my heart began pounding violently. I quickly twisted the regulator shut, disconnected it, and slowly dragged the gas cylinder out of the kitchen, half praying with every step. When I reached the back door, I almost collided with someone standing there. "Mrs. Margaret!" I nearly screamed before realizing it was Mr. Harris, my next-door neighbor. His folding umbrella dripped rainwater onto the floor. "Sir, My voice shook. I smelled a really strong gas odor from outside, he said seriously. I knocked on the gate, but no one answered. The back door was slightly open, so I came in. Only then did I realize the back door really wasn't fully closed. I was certain I had shut it earlier. I just noticed it too, I said quietly. I was about to cook, but the smell felt wrong. Mr. Harris crouched to inspect the regulator. This bolt looks like it was deliberately loosened, he said. It didn't come loose on its own. The word deliberately sent a chill up my neck. Who could have entered my kitchen that afternoon? Only Leo and I were home. No repairmen had come. Unless Daniel had stopped by alone earlier without Paula? No, they were still supposed to be on a cruise. But Paula had a spare key. Years ago, we had made one in her name just in case. My head spun. Mr. Harris gently patted my shoulder. Ma'am, don't use the gas tonight. Tomorrow, call a technician to check everything. It's lucky I happened to pass by and smelled it. Otherwise, he didn't finish the sentence. In my mind, I saw the house exploding in flames. People would say, "How tragic, an elderly woman living alone with her grandson, unaware of a gas leak." "God help us," was all I could whisper. After Mr. Harris left, I stood for a long time in the half-dark kitchen. The sound of rain outside felt like malicious whispering. First the tea, now the gas. How many coincidences do I need before I stop calling them coincidences? I went upstairs to Leo's room. He was still sleeping soundly, curled up with his blue toy car. I sat on the edge of his bed and gently stroked his hair. "Leo," I whispered. He stirred, eyes half open. "Grandma," my voice trembled. "Grandma needs to ask you something again. You can answer now or later, but I really need to know." He blinked several times, then slowly sat up against the pillow. "One night," he said haltingly. I held my breath. This was the longest sentence I had ever heard him say. "Mommy and Daddy were fighting. Mommy pushed Daddy. Mommy said if Daddy wasn't brave, he was worse than something. I forgot." Tears welled up in his eyes. "Mommy said if Grandma died quickly, the house could be used as collateral. The insurance would pay out. The debts would be gone." His words struck my chest like a hammer. "Daddy said he was scared. Mommy said it could be an accident, easy to arrange. Old people are easy. They fall easily. Heart attacks happen easily." Leo covered his face with both hands. His small body shook. I pulled him into my arms immediately. "That's enough. You've helped Grandma more than you know. I'm sorry for making you remember these things." In that small embrace, something inside me changed. Fear fused with anger and hardened into resolve. The next day, I met Maya Collins again. This time, my hands didn't shake like before. I was still afraid, but my voice was steadier. Maya listened as I told her about the gas leak and Leo's confession. Her expression tightened. "This is no longer just a plan," she said firmly. "This was an attempt. You were lucky." "Can the police arrest them now?" "Not yet," she replied. "Legally, it's difficult without direct proof. The poison tea hasn't been confirmed by the lab. The gas leak can still be claimed as an accident. What we have now is a pattern. Tea, gas, insurance, conversations, Leo's testimony. Strong, but we still need the final nail." The final nail? Their own confession, or at least recorded statements where they speak openly. I went quiet. "They've said things like that at home before," I whispered, "but only Leo heard them." "Then we make them talk again," Maya said calmly, "and this time we record it. At the same time, we lock down your assets." She explained the plan. The house would be placed under a legal structure that prevented it from being used as collateral or transferred without your consent, with priority protection for Leo in the future. Old documents would be updated. Every small piece of evidence, photos, messages, recordings, would be collected. And one more thing, Maya added, Leo needs professional help. If his testimony is ever needed, he must be emotionally stable. I know a good child psychologist, Tara Evans. I can arrange an appointment. I exhaled deeply. If it helps him, then yes. That night, when I returned home, Leo was playing with Lego blocks on the living room floor. I sat beside him. "Leo," I said softly, "Grandma wants to take you to meet Miss Tara tomorrow. She listens to children's stories for a living." He looked uncertain. "I know you're scared," I continued gently, "but you're not alone. Grandma is here. I won't let anyone hurt you again. What you saw and heard was heavy. We'll share it together, okay?" Slowly, Leo scooted closer and grabbed the hem of my house dress. "I want to talk more," he whispered, "but I'm scared." "That's okay," I said, swallowing tears. "Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. Being brave means speaking even when you are scared." That night, I sat on my bed staring at my late husband's photo. "I'm sorry. I spoiled Daniel too much. I thought love alone would make him a good man. I was wrong, but I won't stay silent anymore. I'll protect our grandson, and I'll make them realize this old woman still has teeth." For the first time since all of this began, I no longer felt hunted. I felt like I was starting to hunt back. Late morning the next day, I was folding Leo's clothes in the living room when I heard a car stop outside. The wall clock showed 11 a.m. I peeked through the window. Daniel's car. Cold spread through my chest. They were supposed to still be on the cruise. The front door swung open hard. Paula entered first, sunglasses perched on her head, her face sour. Behind her, Daniel dragged in a large suitcase. "You're already back?" I asked, pretending to be surprised. "Engine trouble on the ship," Paula replied curtly. "The company gave us a voucher for the next trip. Vacation ruined." Daniel sighed and dropped the suitcase with a thud. His face was pale, eyes sunken. I remembered Maya's plan. We weren't fully prepared, but the enemy was already here. "Well, at least you're safe," I said softly. "Do you want something to eat? I can warm something." "Later," Daniel muttered, pressing his temples. Paula stayed standing, scanning the house. "Where's Leo?" "At school. He'll be back later." She nodded briefly, then suddenly walked towards the kitchen. My heart raced. The cabinet where I had kept the tea was there. I followed quietly. She opened the upper cabinet, took a glass, opened the fridge. Her eyes darted. "Where's my herbal tea?" she asked sharply. I forced a forgetful smile. "Oh, I drank a little. It tasted strange, so I threw it away. My stomach couldn't handle it." Paula blinked. "You threw it away," she raised her voice. "That was expensive. I ordered it specially." "I'm sorry," I said, layering on forgetfulness. "I thought it was just regular tea." She stared at me for a long moment, as if trying to read my thoughts, then exhaled harshly. "Next time, don't throw things away so carelessly. I meant well." That afternoon dragged on. They decided to stay at my house for several days, to save on hotel costs, Paula said, since Daniel's business was struggling. "Besides," she added with a thin smile, "this is our house, too." I only nodded. Saying no would make them suspicious. That first night, the house felt different. Paula took over the kitchen, reorganizing cabinets without asking. Daniel paced the porch on tense phone calls, repeatedly mentioning Ryan's name. Leo clung to me the moment he came home from school. He looked at Paula as if she were a ghost. "Leo, come to Mommy," Paula called sweetly. Slowly, he stepped closer. When he reached her, Paula whispered in his ear, low but loud enough for me to hear, Remember, don't say anything unnecessary. If you... I saw Paula's jaw tighten. Doctor, she said, but what if Mother's condition worsens later? Would we be able to represent her in legal matters? The doctor looked at her, then at me. That's beyond my scope, ma'am. Matters like that go through a notary or the court. But as long as Mrs. Margaret can speak and understand, her rights remain hers. We went home with Paula silent the entire drive. Her face was dark. That night, after dinner, I went to my room early. I put my bag on the table, not realizing the zipper was slightly open. Inside was an envelope containing copies of documents from Maya Collins and her business card. When I stepped out briefly to the bathroom, I heard my bedroom door creak open. "Mom?" Daniel's voice. I hurried back. Daniel was standing near the table. My bag had shifted. "What are you looking for, Dan?" I asked, keeping my voice gentle. "Nothing," he said quickly. "I just wanted to ask if you have any headache medicine." His eyes flicked briefly to the papers, then back to my face. I smiled. "It's in the drawer, not in the bag. You've known where the medicine drawer is for years." "Oh, right." He let out a hollow laugh. "Forgot." His gaze lingered on my bag a moment longer before he left. My heart pounded. Had he seen Maya's card? Late that night, muffled arguing drifted from Daniel and Paula's room. "You're stupid. Why did you even put my name on the insurance?" Paula hissed. "Now everyone can get suspicious." "I just followed the agent's advice. He said any name was fine. You were the one who rushed it. And now the house can't be used as collateral. The tea failed, the gas failed. How many times do we have to try?" I pressed a pillow over my ears, but their voices still cut through. "If this keeps up, Ryan will destroy us," Paula said, her voice dropping, heavy with threat. "His men aren't decent people. Do you want to see me and Leo dragged out?" "They won't touch Leo," Daniel said quietly. "If we fail to pay, they won't care. Money is money, and this is the fastest way. Your mother—" I stopped breathing. "If it's an accident, people just say it's fate. And if she's in a nursing home, who cares if someone slips in the bathroom?" That was when I realized they had already discussed sending me away. My throat burned. I stared at the dark ceiling, feeling something inside me crack, then harden again. For the first time, the thought of giving up crossed my mind. Let them take the house, take my life, as long as Leo was safe. But then I saw Leo in my mind, curled in fear in a corner. Paula's threat to send him far away pulled me back. "No," I whispered into the darkness. "If I give up, they'll take everything. My home, my life, Leo's future." I closed my eyes, holding back tears. That night, I understood. I had reached the lowest point. And it was there I realized something clearly. There was no way back, only forward, no matter the risk. The days after that argument felt like walking on glass. Every move had to be careful, every word measured. One mistake, and Leo and I might not get a second chance. Early one morning, when Paula went out shopping, I locked my room and called Maya. My voice was barely above a whisper. "Maya, they've talked about sending me to a nursing home. They said if I had an accident there, no one would care." Maya was silent for a second. "Then it's time to accelerate," she said. "We need evidence they can't deny, a direct confession." "I'll do anything," I replied, "as long as Leo is safe." "Good. If they talk again, try to record it. Pretend to sleep. Pretend to be weak. People who think they've won tend to talk freely. Do you have a phone that can record quietly?" "Yes." "Use it. If you get a clear recording, send it to me. That's when we involve the police." That afternoon, as if the universe had heard us, Paula came into my room carrying a glass of warm milk. "Drink this so you can sleep better," she said sweetly. "You've looked pale lately." She placed the glass on the table. I glanced at it. The smell was ordinary, but I didn't want to know what was inside. "Thank you, Paula," I said. Once she left, I waited for a few minutes, listening as her footsteps faded. Then I poured the milk into a small pot holding a plastic plant in the corner so it would soak in and not be obvious. I took my phone, opened the voice recorder, and slid it under my pillow, the microphone facing the door. I lay down, pulled the blanket up, and closed my eyes. When Paula peeked in, I yawned extensively. "Did you drink it?" she asked. "Yes," I said lightly. "It tastes good. You're really good at making herbal drinks." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Good. I'll clean the kitchen once you're asleep." I slowed my breathing, mimicking deep sleep. The lamp stayed dim. Not long after, the door opened quietly. 2 steps. I stayed still. My phone under the pillow felt like a ticking bomb. Paula's voice was low but clear. "See? 1 drink and she's out." Daniel snorted. "You're sure doctors won't detect this?" "Do you think I'm stupid?" Paula replied sharply. "This just helps her sleep. Not yet. Slowly. So when it happens, people say, 'Oh, she's been weak for days, on medication.'" My heart slammed against my ribs, but my body remained rigid. "I'm still not sure," Daniel whispered. "Look how far we've gone. The tea, the gas. Now we establish a pattern. 1 step left. Ryan already set a deadline. End of the month. Do you want him coming here? In front of Leo? In front of me?" Daniel sighed heavily. "I just can't imagine if Mom really—" "What's the difference?" Paula pressed. "She'll die eventually. The difference is now her death saves us. Later, we're already ruined. Do you want your child growing up chased by debt collectors?" Silence. "The insurance is ready. The house, too, if we can claim it. We rebuild our lives. We move. Start over, far from here." "Don't talk about my mother like that," Daniel said weakly. "If you want to stay a child, fine. But when Ryan beats you in front of Leo, don't blame me when I tell everyone you're a coward." Then she added calmly, "Next, we file to move her to a nursing home. Easier. 1 fall in the bathroom. Who cares?" Footsteps retreated. A chair scraped softly. The door closed. I waited for 5 full minutes before daring to open my eyes. My breathing finally returned. My hands shook as I pulled the phone under my pillow. The recording was still running. I stopped it and saved the file with a clear name. That night, I didn't sleep at all, but for the first time, I held something real in my hands. The next day, while Paula went to the market and Daniel met someone outside, I locked my room and sent the recording to Maya. My hands trembled. Not long after, Maya called. Her voice was different, firmer. "Margaret, this is very strong. They mentioned the tea, the gas, the insurance, the nursing home, even Ryan. This is enough for the police to act." She paused for a second. "But if you want something more satisfying, we can arrange a moment where everything is exposed publicly, not just a legal case, but a social reckoning." "What do you mean?" "We make them feel completely safe, completely victorious. Then we pull the rug out from under them in front of witnesses, neighbors, a doctor, a psychologist, everyone." I was silent for a moment. Paula's sneer, Daniel's constant avoidance flashed through my mind. "I can do it," I said finally. "I want them to know what they've done, and I want others to know too. I want them to lose every mask." "Then we start preparing," Maya said softly. "We need a reason for a family gathering. A birthday, a small celebration." I glanced at the calendar.
Leo's birthday was coming up. It was usually ignored. This year, I said quietly, we can make it small. Invite a few neighbors. Perfect, Maya replied. I'll come as a notary, handling the house documents. The police, who've already heard the recording, will be nearby, disguised as guests. Tara Evans will be there for Leo. He's still scared. I'll intensify his sessions, Maya assured me. Your only job now is to survive and keep pretending. Don't change your behavior around Daniel and Paula. In the following days, Leo met Tara regularly at a small clinic. She was gentle, patient, often sitting on the floor to play while talking. One afternoon, she pulled me aside. Leo is very smart. He remembers a lot. He's afraid, but he wants to protect you. I believe when the moment...
At first, the conversation was light, weather, gas prices, school matters, but I knew this was only the beginning. When the plates started empty, I stood up. My knees trembled slightly, but my voice had to be steady. Everyone, thank you for coming, I said. Besides Leo's birthday, I also want to share some good news with the family today. All heads turned toward me. Daniel looked at me suspiciously. Paula smiled, but it was the smile of someone on alert. I turned to Maya. This is Maya Collins, the attorney who helped handle my late husband's estate years ago. Today, I asked her to come to help clarify matters regarding this house. I made sure my voice carried. Paula's eyes flashed. Daniel straightened his back. "What kind of matter, Mom?" Daniel asked tensely. I pretended to be nervous. "I'm old now. I worry that something might happen suddenly, so I thought before my time runs out, it's better to put everything in order, clearly, so you won't be burdened later." Several neighbors nodded in understanding. In our community, settling inheritance matters while still alive wasn't unusual. Maya opened her folder calmly. "That's correct," she said. "Today, Mrs. Margaret has asked me to explain several points regarding ownership of this house, who has a legal authority, and how her grandson Leo is to be protected." Paula smiled widely, as if she had already won. Yes, I've told Daniel, too. It's better if everything is neat and clear." Maya glanced at her briefly, then back at the document. "I'll read this aloud so everyone present may serve as witnesses." The room fell silent. "This document states that Mrs. Margaret revokes all previous powers of attorney granted to her son and daughter-in-law regarding the use of this house as collateral or for any transfer of ownership due to concerns of potential misuse." Paula's face changed instantly. "Leo," she cut in quickly, "why revoke it? I thought this was about granting authority again." "Please remain calm," Maya said politely. "I'm not finished." She continued. "This house will remain fully owned by Mrs. Margaret for the duration of her life. Upon her passing, primary rights will transfer to her grandson Leo. Her son and daughter-in-law may reside here only if they comply with strict conditions, no coercion, no threats, and no abuse toward the homeowner or the child." Daniel half stood, his face flushing red. "What is this supposed to mean? So I'm not considered her son anymore? You trust outsiders more than your own child?" I raised my hand gently. "Sit down. Listen until the end." Paula hissed. "This is clearly the lawyer's doing. Lawyers scare old people so they can make money." Some neighbors exchanged uneasy glances. The undercover officers remained calm in their seats. Maya closed the folder. "Before any signatures," she said, "I'm required to ask one question in front of witnesses. Mrs. Margaret, have you ever felt pressured, threatened, or harmed by anyone for financial reasons?" My heart pounded. This was the moment we had planned. I took a deep breath. "Yes," I said quietly. The atmosphere shifted instantly. "Who, Margaret?" someone asked. I looked around the room, then stopped at Daniel and Paula. My own son and his wife. Lies, Paula shrieked. Don't talk nonsense in front of people. Daniel looked shaken. Mom, what are you saying? I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. If it were only my words, people might think I was imagining things. That's why I recorded it. I pressed play. Paula's voice filled the room, soft, controlled, and chilling. The herbal tea's done. The gas is ready. Now we just need to establish a pattern, make it look like she's been weak for a while. If we miss the deadline, Ryan will send his guys. That old woman, if there's an accident, people will say it's fate. At a nursing home, one slip in the bathroom, who cares? Faces froze. A neighbor covered her mouth. Dr. Michael Bennett stared in shock. Daniel stood rigid, eyes wide. Paula lunged toward me to grab the phone. One of the undercover officers rose calmly and stopped her. That recording is fake, Paula screamed hysterically. Anyone can edit audio now. This is all the lawyers set up. I nearly collapsed. Then Leo stood up. Tierra gently released his shoulder. Next, Leo whispered. The room went completely silent. The child they thought had been mute since birth stood trembling in the middle of the room, clutching his blue toy car. I saw Mom pour something into Grandma's tea. I heard her say if Grandma died, the house could be used for insurance, for debt. Tears streamed down his face. I was scared. I stayed quiet. But Grandma is kind. I don't want her to die. Daniel cried out his name. That's enough, one officer said firmly, revealing his badge. We've heard enough. Daniel and Paula, you'll need to come with us for questioning. Paula laughed hysterically. You believe a child who just learned how to talk today? I stood slowly, my legs shaking. The cruel ones are you. I carried Daniel for 9 months. I raised him on a teacher's salary. I accepted you into this family, Paula. I closed my eyes when you both changed, and you repaid me with poison, gas, and plans for a nursing home. Daniel's voice broke. I was desperate, Mom. Ryan, debts. I was afraid. I was too, afraid of dying slowly at my own child's hands. They were led away. The house fell quiet. That day, the mask of a harmonious family shattered in front of everyone. Epilogue, condensed, Western tone. Months later, our life found a new rhythm. The house was quieter, no controlling voices, no half-hearted kindness. The legal process moved forward, evidence piled up, testimonies were clear. Leo began speaking more, drawing again. One drawing showed our house, a tree, me and Leo on the porch, and one man standing far away. I asked, "Who's that?" "Dad," Leo said softly. "He's far." I hugged him. The verdict came. Paula received the longest sentence, Daniel shorter but still accountable. Ryan was exposed as well. Afterwards, Daniel asked for forgiveness. I gave it, not to erase the past, but to stop carrying hate. The house is safe now. The trust is clear. Leo is protected. That night, I turned off the lights one by one. For the first time in a long time, I slept without fear, knowing I would wake up in my own home with my grandson, living a life we chose, not one forced upon us.